What is up, people of youtube.com? I hope we're all having a wonderful Thursday. I think it's Thursday today. I have been in my room just tidying up and had some thoughts on the dome that I figured I would just sit down and let out in the open so that they can breathe a little bit. Today we're going to be talking about religion. This is a topic that I have been wanting to discuss on this channel for a little while now, but I guess I just haven't really known where to start or what to say or what anyone would be interested in regarding sort of my own thoughts on that. But sort of just what is on my mind right now is just this idea that I sometimes wish that I did not believe in God. If you don't know, I grew up in a Christian household, went to church basically every Sunday, and so Christianity has been a major part of my life for my entire life. And obviously my relationship with it has developed over the years, and I'm not really interested in labels. I don't necessarily know exactly what I would call myself, but I have definitely come to a place where I have looked around at the world. I have thought a lot about these things, and I've kind of come to the conclusion where it's like, okay, there's no way that all of this happening is an accident. You know, there is a distinction between good and evil, and that distinction cannot exist if all of this is just sort of subject to our own opinions on things. There has to be, in my mind, there has to be a higher power outside of time and space that sort of dictates what an absolute moral truth is. And because of that, there exists good and there exists evil, and we should be able to identify those things when we see them and say, okay, this thing that just happened where I saw someone get shot on my phone, or I hear a story on the news about somebody using their power to take advantage of someone who is less powerful than they are. And then on the flip side of that, I think when we see someone being selfless, when we see someone laying down their life for the sake of someone else, or being generous, or using their power and influence to lift someone up rather than break them down, I think that is inherently good. The distinction between those two things sort of informs my own belief system on religion and God, and just sort of this way that we ought to act in society. And that worldview kind of brings me to what I want to talk about right now, which is just this idea that I wish that I could wake up every day and not have this like philosophical filter over everything that I do. I wish that I could just go about my life and not have to worry about what everything that I'm doing means in the grand scheme of things. For example, if I am on the subway and I see someone who is asking for money and they need help, and I don't have any cash on me, if I don't then go up to that person and say, hey, let's go to an ATM and I'll get you a little cash, or just go and buy them a meal somewhere. If I let that opportunity go without doing something about it, I will spend the rest of the day thinking, oh man, God is so disappointed in me. I had an opportunity to help someone in need. I was able to do it and I didn't do it. Therefore, God is upset with me and is going to make my life miserable because I did not help a person who was in need when I had the opportunity to do it. And then on the flip side of that, if I'm going about my day and I think about something that I shouldn't be thinking about, or I look at something that I shouldn't be looking at, if I didn't believe in God, I would be able to just like let that roll off my shoulders and be like, well, who cares? God doesn't exist anyway, so I might as well just get as much pleasure and as much satisfaction for myself as I'm able to in this life, because that's ultimately what it boils down to. But instead of just being able to do that, I will instead spend the rest of the day thinking, oh my God, I am such a piece of shit. I am sinful, I'm not a good person, I am just using the things at my disposal for my own personal gain. Therefore, again, God is disappointed in me, and he sees that and he's like, oh, this guy is gonna get it. And sometimes I just think about how nice it must be to be an atheist, to not be constantly thinking about the existential implications of everything that I'm doing throughout the day. However, I feel like because I do believe in a higher power, therefore I am held to a higher standard than someone who doesn't believe in God, because I know the things that I'm supposed to do and I know the things that I'm not supposed to do, and yet I don't do the things that I'm supposed to do, and I keep doing the things that I'm not supposed to do. And very rarely do I get to the end of the day and feel like, oh, you know what? This was a great day. I was just like A+, firing on all cylinders, 100%. I was generous and kind, and therefore God and I are chill right now. That basically has never happened in my entire life. Instead, usually I get to the end of the day and I am only able to see the mistakes that I've made that day and the areas where I've fallen short. And I say to myself, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna do better. I wake up in the morning and then I fall into the same patterns over and over and over and over again. I am lustful, prideful, I give in to temptation easily, and all of these things would be so much easier to deal with if I could just say, okay, well, none of it matters anyway. We're all gonna die, who cares? I didn't hurt anyone today, and it's all just kind of a matter of opinion at the end of the day. But instead, because I believe in God, I am not able to live in a way where I just say, oh, well, fuck it, whatever happens, happens. Feels like I have this standard for myself, and it's not even like a super unrealistic standard. It's just like, okay, do these things today, don't do these things today. And no matter what happens, I always fall short of that standard. And I'm just worried that I will never get to a place where I feel satisfied with myself, where I feel comfortable and accepted and loved. Like, I just have this image of God in my head, and he's up in heaven and he's just looking down at me just with a disappointed look on his face, and he's just saying, oh my, this guy, look at everything that I've given him and look how he's squandering it on worldly pleasures and his own personal desires rather than using what I've given him to help others and better his community. But another thing is, like, I know that that can't be true either, because if there is a God, if God exists, then he's outside of time and space completely. So there's nothing that I can do that's surprising to him or her, because he already knows everything that's gonna happen. He knows my life from beginning to end, and therefore there's nothing that I can do where he's gonna be like, whoa, that came out of left field. I keep having to remind myself that God doesn't see my life that way. He sees the entirety of it, and all he wants is for me to choose good every time rather than choosing the easy path out or the most pleasurable path. But at the end of the day, I cannot help believing in a higher power. Like, I just don't think I'll ever be in a spot where I'm just like, okay, yep, God doesn't exist and nothing matters and it's all subjective. And so therefore it's just about me trying to get closer to God and figuring out what he wants for my life and how to walk that path and just take it one day at a time and do the things that are within my control and say no to the things that I can also say no to. And so that's basically the end of my rant on God and religion. And so if you're out there and you're sort of experiencing similar thoughts and similar feelings, I just wanted to make this video to let you know that you're not alone. If you want to talk more about this, drop a comment, get a conversation going, and I would love to respond and hear your guys' thoughts on this subject. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy. God loves you. Goodbye.